In this section, we deal with the concept of project business, the operational environment of project business, and different types of projects. The concept of project business is always a part of the business activity of a company that is somehow related to projects. It can be, for instance, the production activity of a company which is related to the implementation of construction projects for a public customer, for example, or the development activity related to the optimization and streamlining of operations of a public agency, which is implemented through projects. Project business is always a deliberately led and goal-oriented activity, which serves the attainment of the goals of a company. Project business also always aims at some kind of a significant change through the attainment of these goals. What these goals are always depends on the context of the business. Here, as well as in the book, a company or firm as a concept is understood broadly. So according to this perspective, a company can also be understood to be, for instance, a public organization. But project business always supports the realization of the goals of a company. That is, it can mean the maximizing of the value created for shareholders, or if we are talking about a public organization, it can mean, for example, the implementation of the goals that serve its relevant stakeholders' needs. For example, the Finnish Transport Safety Agency's car registration digitalization project can, for example, make the service experience smoother for the citizens, which would thereby support the attainment of the goals of these stakeholders. When we look at the concept of project business, we can see that a project and project business are essentially related to the strategic goals of a business. In other words, the implementation of a project and project business must support the attainment and achievement of the organization's strategic goals. And therefore, there may be measures or decisions directed at an individual project that are related to attaining the strategy of this business. Thus, if we think about project portfolio management and the decision making related to that, decisions may be made, for example, to stop or kill projects because they do not support the attainment of the organization's strategic goals after all. Let's take as an example a product development project which is related to developing an additional feature to a product. The organization may make a decision in its strategy round to no longer focus on this product segment and to run down its product development activity, in which case this development project will naturally be stopped. And in that same round, decisions may have been made, for example, about launching a productivity lead program, which has certain goals and under which many different new development projects will be established. Well, where are projects used? Project business can actually be seen to have two different meanings and uses. On one hand, projects and project business can be thought as being a part of a business production function, so this is related to solutions provided to customers. And for example, if we implement a cellulose plant project in Uruguay for a customer, or if we implement the Rantatunneli tunnel project in Tampere for the Finnish Transport Agency, which is one of the customers in this project, we implement a delivery project. And this project and this project business can be seen to be part of the business's production function. Then there is this other perspective to project business, and this kind of project activity is more related to developing and improving one's own activities. In this case, that is to business development. So for example, if we implement some kind of product development project for a new product, for example, a new technological solution to the market, we are talking more about developing solutions for the company's own business. To continue, if we, for example, implement a reforming project through which we attempt to optimize operations through the implementation of some new processes, for example, a production process improvement project or digitalization of construction site activity or some kind of lean project where we are implementing development activity, which is implemented in a project project-based way. And this is then therefore also part of project business. It is also good to remember that the role of project business differs very much between businesses. We have businesses that operate in a completely project-based manner in different fields of project-based industries, typically, for example, in the field of construction, shipbuilding industry, in the industry of delivering different kinds of industrial solutions, in the machine shop field, in software industry, or for example, in the fields of film production or event production. And these sectors can be considered to operate in a completely project-based manner. But then we have many sectors and businesses where project-based business is only a small part of that business's activities. So for example, the product development function is implemented in a project-based manner, or for example, healthcare organizations where, for example, development activity is implemented within projects. From the perspective of project management, it is important to also remember that we have a very varied number of different kinds of projects. So how do projects differ from each other? Projects differ from each other significantly in size, in complexity, in technology, and for example, in how clearly the goals and objectives of the project can be defined in the early stages of the project. This means that from the perspective of project management, we always have to apply project management methods on a case-by-case basis. So we cannot think that there is only one correct solution through which we can manage and lead all kinds of projects, but we have to adapt project management methods to respond to the requirements of the project at hand. So for example, research and development projects must necessarily be led and steered to some extent differently than, for example, construction projects, in which there's a goal that has been clearly defined in the early stages, and where we also know the means by which we can implement the project. Measures of success for different projects also vary. For example, in research activity, such an outcome may be fine, where this developed drug is not after all functional in the treatment of some disease, whereas in construction, the promised solution should be finished and taken into use. I just said that projects have features that differ from each other, and through this we can divide projects into different types. Here you can see some of them and one possible classification. So we have research and development projects, we may have design projects, we may have investment projects and delivery projects, or customer projects. These projects differ from each other, for example, in how clearly their goals are in the early stages defined, and in how clear are the methods through which these projects can be implemented. One example of a development project could be a software development project where we develop a new ERP system for the needs of a business. Development projects often apply already existing research data and solutions. As for research projects, their goal is to create completely new knowledge, expertise, solutions, and in them there is often a great deal of uncertainty. Also, the ultimate goals of the projects are not very clear in the early stages of the project, but there are only ideas of desired future states, but no ready solutions even as to how to attain these. In these cases, the management of people and experts often takes a central role, and you cannot necessarily even set very exact control points in the early stages of these projects. Then it's essential to separate from each other an investment project and a delivery project. An investment project is always related to an investment made by an actor, which promotes the goals of a business. Typically, for example, in the forest industry, businesses and actors make different kinds of investments, and according to this investment, equipment suppliers then deliver projects. And for them, this project is a delivery project. So even though we are talking about the production of the same product and the goal is the same, for example, if we are now talking about the cellulose plant in Uruguay, you are building this common project product that is the cellulose plant. But this still can be seen as several separate projects. From the perspective of the customer, that is the external customer or the investor, who is making the investment. From their perspective, this is an investment project. And for them, what is especially important is the business benefits produced by this cellulose plant. And these are, of course, estimated in the early stage when investment and profitability calculations are made. Then, on the other hand, for the delivering organizations, this is a delivery project, which means that they deliver the cellulose plant, and for them, these kinds of delivery projects are part of their permanent business. So these can be seen as two separate projects, but they still have common and essential parts that bind them together. Even though both so-called projects have their own project organization, some binding and common parts are, for example, the contract between these different project organizations, and there may also be a common project plan, and even common risk management plans, and a common administrative structure for this project. Now that in recent times, for example, in Finland, we've had more of these construction and infrastructure projects that use alliance project delivery models. So in these cases, you can in fact talk about a common project and only about one project organization. So in these models, new models, the goal is specifically to get rid of project structures, of separate project structures that demonstrate a silo mentality.